Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. Today we will discuss a very crucial and important topic having relevance all over the world and more so in India, which is regarded as a land of teeming diversities of culture. But culture will not affect this topic as it has not affected anywhere in the world. The topic is the unheard middle class. Today, India has a population of approximately 1.30 to 1.40 billion, and 50% of this population, as per 2015, is living in the middle class. The problems associated with the middle class are burning. Unfortunately, neither governments nor state authorities, and with great respect to the Indian judiciary, neither good lawyers are available for this section to represent them before the judiciary. The middle class, and what is its definition? The Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development has classified that people having an expenditure of per capita, that is per person, per day, below $2 per day are to be regarded as poor. People from $2 per day of expenditure to $10 per day of expenditure are to be regarded as the middle class. Seeing the whole world population, 56% of the population belongs to the lower middle class. 13% belongs to the middle class and 9% belongs to the upper middle class. 2015 estimates showed that India has 50% of its population of 1.30 billion then in 2015, which lives in the middle class. Now coming to the problems. The recent COVID pandemic has exposed the threat that befalls on the middle class in every eventuality, be it earthquake, be it political change, be it taxation, be it war, be it strikes, be it lockdowns, be it delay in justice delivery, be it police atrocity, be it crime, be it women crime, be it repayment of loans. In all circles, this 50% of the population is the worst hit. What are the reasons? The reasons are that those people who are living below the poverty line, those peoples have got various safeguards. They have got safeguards under human rights, they've got safeguards by NGOs, they've got safeguards by various organizations who come forward, and they constitute the mass votary for the government. They are the illiterate class, the lower middle class, or rather the people living below the poverty line. These people, they are as it is protected, and to them certain things don't affect. And those people who are in the upper strata, which is 2 to 3% of the population, 1% or 2% of the population, they are also unaffected because they are filthy rich. Whatever be the tax, they will pay it. Whatever be the situation they can encounter. Medical facilities also, which has become a posing threat to the middle class, is not a threat for both these classes, because the people who are below poverty line, they would prefer going to government hospitals. People who are really rich, they can afford good hospitals like Lilavati, like Hinduja, various fine hospitals. Now what happens to the middle class? Who looks after it? The middle class, which stated with respects to all governments, right since 1947 up to today, be it any government, and holding an impartial view towards all the parties, none of them have wooed the middle class in an appropriate way. The recent Ukraine war has posed another threat by way of rise in oil prices. Now, who looks after the middle class? The middle class is unorganized. The middle class doesn't have collective strength. The middle class doesn't have a bargaining battle before the government. Though the middle class constitutes a lot in day-to-day activities, and it is the middle class which is running this whole country, neither the rich, neither the poor. But this middle class is less looked after by politicians because they feel that the middle class will fend for itself. But that is not the truth. If there is a medical problem in the house, there's a middle class which is worst affected, because at that time he may not be having cash expenses to meet. He may not be having appropriate savings. He may not be having an appropriate medical policy. Now, who looks after the middle class? Unfortunately, the middle class is facing a human rights violation in countries like India, all over the world. And except few developed countries, there are few countries who have looked after the middle class. The middle class is the person who actually pays taxes. A look at the entire demography of the middle class in India would suggest that 30% middle class people belong to the vendor section, who are the retailers, the traders, the small traders, the traders on the road, the traders in small shops. These are the 30% population of the middle class. Then comes the labor and various categories of the middle class. Now, if you see the GST, there is an inspector Raj which has started in the GST. All formalities have to be completed. Retailers are sick. Now, where are the retailers belonging from? These retailers again belong to the middle class. Now, what is to be done? How is the middle class going to combat the politicians, the policy making problems? Today, the farmers collected because the farmers constituted a separate entity and they could oppose the farmers' law. The middle class does not have any such kind of collective strength, and they are the least selected people amongst the politicians for even votes. For even votes, they are not approached properly because the middle class would be the class which is least expected to oppose. There is no opposition going to come from the middle class. There is one way in which middle class today can react. And the social media provides a very, very strong ground for the middle class to oppose changes. Unfortunately, in social media, you may have people who may speak off the mark. So it is a very humble request that to form such social media groups where off the mark remarks, irrelevant remarks and defamatory remarks are avoided and the main problem is spoken of. For instance, the petrol prices, the rise in the education costs in the online era, all these aspects, the medical expenses which are mounting, a cap on the medical fees, a cap on the tuition fees charged by medical colleges. These issues which affect the middle class, the rise in the price of vegetables, the rise in the price of vegetables, the rise in the price of oil, the rise in the price of various things of consumer durables which is happening on an everyday. And with respects, the wholesale price index is not an indication of any such thing. There is one way, is a social media. The other way is to form very good NGOs, reliable NGOs, non-politically funded NGOs to fight for the middle class in the courts of law. The legal aid cells of the High Court. The legal aid cells of the High Court also are not of very good assistance because the lawyers over there are not very competent. The legal aid cell must provide competent lawyers for the middle class who can approach those lawyers and ask them to fight. These are certain things, and unionism amongst the middle class has become necessary. The middle class must be represented by appropriate union, and they must present their views to the government, to the courts, and must press for their rights under Article 32 of the Constitution of India, falling well within 14, 19, 21. And governments must be arrested in making policies which affect the middle class. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.